Folks, on our Melbourne Catholic podcast this week, we're talking to Sherry Balcombe, who's the coordinator for Victoria of the Aboriginal Catholic Ministry. And of course, it's NAIDOC week. First of all, Sherry, welcome.
Thank you.
We've had a great chat on the podcast about a whole range of things. Firstly, Aboriginal Catholic Ministry. What sort of work are you involved in?
We're involved in education and spirituality. And so we like to share it, to share our spirituality with all of Australia and let them see the deep connection that we have and the identity we have in this country.
One of the things you talk about in the podcast is what people often say to you, how can you be Aboriginal and Catholic? Talk us through a little bit of that. Your answer in the podcast is fascinating.
I think we're looking for our place in this country. And when we sing the Jesus story, we can relate to that. We relate to that dispossession and the persecution. So for us, it is the relation. We can see our connection to Jesus through that story.
So, opening the doors, on our Melbourne Catholic website this week, there's a great story there about opening the doors. It's one of the great programs that you're involved in. Tell us how that started and what it's doing now, because it sounds like one real success story.
Oh, it certainly is. Well, it started from Vicky's dream with $50 in the bank and 3 kids on the books. And this year we supported over 800 students in independent schools and not paying the fees, but helping with books and uniforms.
Right, okay.
So the kids can turn up with everything like everybody else. Parents can pay fees off for years after kids are gone, but it's important that they have the grassroots, on the ground stuff, the books and the uniforms to start like everybody else.
So when we're on the topic of Aboriginals, there's a lot of difficult areas to talk about. Youth suicide, awful. The whole sorry phenomenon, which you talk about in the podcast as being one of your happiest days, being there in Canberra. And also, interestingly, I think probably one of the things that people are thinking about is Ken Wyatt now as an Aboriginal coming in as Minister for Indigenous Affairs. What do you say about that? Do you feel that's a good step forward?
I think it's a great step forward, and we need people in all areas of government and the whole country. Very difficult. I wouldn't wish to do it myself because I think it's a really difficult, very difficult path because there's a big expectation from the Aboriginal community and everybody is expecting Ken to do the right thing by all of us, but then he's also got the pressure from the government of acting the way that the government wants him to act. So he's in a really difficult position, but hopefully he's strong enough to be able to carry that and to help carry Australia into a new phase of our life.
Sherry Balcombe in this week's podcast for NAIDOC Week talks also about how far things have come. And it's really great to hear you saying that. Just give us a little taste of how far you do think we've come in terms of Aboriginals in Australia.
We've come a long way. We're starting to rejuvenate the languages. We're having lots and lots of ceremonies that are being brought back to life. We've got, and I think there's the education that's starting to filter through from the primary schools through to the secondary schools is doing a lot to change the situation for Aboriginal people in Australia. We're educating a whole generation and it is moving in the right direction.
And you feel this generation is starting to get it?
Oh, definitely. I think this generation, and particularly new Australians, they get it. And I think that comes from them coming from countries where they've been dispossessed or they've been oppressed in their country, and when they come here and they see us, then they can understand why we feel the way that we do. So I think things have moved on a great deal. We've still got a long way to go.
Of course, and I think everyone understands that. You've only got to look at the shocking youth suicide problem to realise there are still a whole lot of problems. But the Aboriginal Catholic Ministry is something I think you can be really proud of, the great work that's going on. So folks, I urge you in NAIDOC Week. What does NAIDOC stand for, by the way?
National Aboriginal and Islanders Day Observance Committee.
Observance Committee, and you think maybe committee's a little bit outdated?
I think so. I think we need to have, and it needs to be, we've actually gone, it's gone for 2 weeks because it started at the 1st of July
Yes.
and it's going to the 14th. It's kind of like we're snatching another week, which is great because we've got so many activities.
Yes.
And it's such an incredible time for us as an Aboriginal community, for us to share our culture with everybody. You know, we've got so much to share and we want everybody to be involved. So I think that's really, that NAIDOC's about inviting the rest of the community into our culture and experiencing some of our life. And so I hope people do take the opportunity to do that.
Well, folks, if you're not an Aboriginal, there's the invitation from Sherry Balcombe. Listen to the podcast. I think you'll get a really good feel for a whole lot of different areas around the Aboriginal culture. Sherry, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.